It's kind of ironic that my first video of 2026 purported to give advice on achieving goals, living up to resolutions, and for me, if that meant continuing to build my YouTube channel, then I didn't take my own advice. Let me explain. Hi, Ray here. Contained in that New Year's video was also the comment that I'd learned to stop banging my head against the wall and instead walk through open doors. I think that's what I said. And that's what I've been doing, following paths that lead more directly to creative satisfaction. Now, that's not to say I don't enjoy that satisfaction from making these videos, but I watched a Brandon Talbot video this morning. Now, if you're not familiar with his work, he makes some great content, a lot about the Nikon ZR lately. And in the video I'm referring to, he talks about how that ZR content has brought him a lot of attention and opportunity. I think he's at about 24,500 subscribers right now. Anyway, he goes on to talk about the big problem that accompanies success on YouTube. And I'm not suggesting success is something that I've experienced on the platform. I just passed my 10th anniversary here, and well, 10,000 subs doesn't actually represent viral popularity, but I'm grateful for reaching that milestone, and most importantly, the audience that does find my content worthwhile. So, what's the downside of YouTube fame? As Brandon explained, and probably more coherently than me, it's the imperative to keep pumping out videos regularly. And he says, go AWOL for more than a couple of weeks, and the damage can be significant. So, and this is the upshot, that fact leaves no time to dig into bigger things, projects that you might really want to develop, projects that will satisfy one's creative hunger, so you end up feeling like you're living on fast food. And believe me, with the post-surgery diet I live on these days, I'd welcome a Big Mac. So yeah, I've been gone for 2 or 3 weeks. I'll tell you why in a minute. And there was that 2-month hiatus last summer after my May surgery. And my channel hasn't recovered from that. Maybe it never will. So I've naturally drifted to activities that are nourishing. I've talked about those activities in other recent videos, and I'll update for anyone who's interested. First of those has been book publishing. And here I want to thank my friend Matt Owen, a guy who manages to feed the algorithm even when he's on holidays, and with top quality content. So I want to thank Matt for plugging my books on a recent BAM livestream, and if you haven't watched the BAM, you should. If you enjoy keeping up with the latest industry news, tech talk, and interesting and friendly banter in the chat. That books announcement led to an interesting side discussion on printing, making photographs that you can touch, and books are a great way to touch and view photos. Just to finish up though, before I comment on a few industry developments myself. I'm working on 3 more books concurrently, which really illustrates my ADHD approach to the creative process. The biggest challenge among those has been on and off the back burner, mostly off, for 32 years. It's based on a bicycle trip that I did, provisionally titled 3 Borders, through southern Alaska, Yukon, and the length of British Columbia. To make it even more relevant today, I'm writing 30 years later chapters to bring up-to-date towns, businesses that have survived or not, people, likewise, still here or gone, where I can track down that info, and that is an adventure in itself, leading to some absolutely amazing serendipitous, if I can say that, adventures. So yeah, it's not possible to do that and put out a video every week or more, which is what the algorithm would like you to do, and punishes you if you don't. And that's the thing. When that punishment arrives on your channel analytics in the form of videos that you think are decent, that you invested days filming and editing, that get 100 views, it feels personal. And in defense of the quality of my work, I've seen this on channels with many times the number of subscribers of this channel, and many channels report the same thing, especially beginning late last year, a sudden precipitous dive in views. Well, I'm not going to let it affect what I do. I mean, what I am, a photographer. And I think I'm a decent photographer. I've been at it for 5 decades, long before there was YouTube or social media. Again, before I move on to industry development, social media, not YouTube so much, because though it has the same algorithmic agonies that I just mentioned, I don't see it in the same way as Meta's Instagram and Facebook or TikTok, which I don't use at all. Perish the thought. I didn't comment on CEO Adam Mosseri's recent musing, just in the interest of maintaining my reputation as a gentleman. Believe me, I can get down in the dirt. But I thought Jared Pollin's response was measured. I'll just mention one of Mosseri's claims that camera brands are betting on the wrong aesthetic. They're competing to make everyone look like a pro from 2015. Now feel free to disagree civilly with me in the comments. But according to Mosseri, you'd rather have this kind of aesthetic rather than polish. Production values are passé? Why the hell have I been optimizing my bike story the last few months, 30 plus years in total? Hell, why not just leave the spelling and grammar mistakes, the typos? Why am I painstakingly restoring photos from the trip and adding more contemporary digital images made with my Nikons? Apparently, I should just go out with my phone, and while I'm at it, shake the camera around to make the results blurry. I'm calling bullshit on the idea that in order to compete with AI, we should abandon quality, surrender striving for excellence to artificial intelligence, and then become incompetent to compete? How can I comment on this incredibly convoluted and misguided, whatever it is? I don't want to dignify it by calling it an idea. It's hogwash, if I can say that word. And if I might presume to offer advice based on my outdated experience, ignore this piffle. It's probably a good idea to stay away from Instagram at this point, if that's what the algorithm is going to reward. And listen, I say this as someone who, though I rarely post there these days, haven't for years, since the brain trust there went chasing reels, or whatever they call those time-sucking short-form videos there. But a few days ago, I checked in to find that a high-profile, brilliant commercial photographer, whose work I highly respect, had followed me and liked one of my relatively recent images, made, I might add, with the Nikon ZF and a cheap $150 Viltrox lens. and I'll get to that controversy in a minute. And they also liked my last book announcement. So yes, there's potentially community at Instagram, and there's direct messaging, something that this platform lacks. And there's that instant gratification that comes with a like, though the aforementioned post has what? I think it's about 26, including that latest, last time I looked. Well, I seem to have gone on much longer on that subject than I intended. Was it worth it? So, onto the Nikon Viltrox controversy. I'll keep it short. I think Nikon should be properly compensated by any third party that builds lenses on the Z mount. Obviously, Nikon and their engineers invested a lot in research and development time, money on bringing this really revolutionary mount to market, and the lens design it enabled have been fantastic. The first 1.8 designs themselves are brilliant and reasonably affordable. I'm also glad that third parties like Viltrox and 7 Artisans, TT Artisan, Yongno, Sue, so many options, and I've reviewed a few here. These budget options allow people to build their glass collection and enjoy the Z mount and the Z system cameras. Again, to keep this short, third parties should deal honestly with Nikon, and Nikon, while protecting its investment. Look, it's certainly not my place to tell Nikon how to do business, and they won't see this editorial from me, but I think it's in their best interest to keep the door ajar for third parties rather than close it shut like Canon. As others have said, it's probably been the release of those lab lenses like the 135 1.8 and 35mm 1.2 in direct competition with the Planner and the NIKKOR 35 1.2 that has Nikon saying, hey, wait a minute. Anyway, it's all speculation at this point. We'll see what plays out in court in China soon enough. Darn, I really missed a lot over the last month. Not that I wasn't paying attention. But this video would run for an hour if I tried to cover it all right now. And I probably spent too much time on that Instagram stuff. The Z9 5.3 firmware update. My main focus has been the improved autofocus. It does seem better from my initial experiments, and I'll be testing that more fully in the spring. But man, let's just give credit again to Nikon's incredible dedication to these updates. Industry leading. I was interested to see the reaction to the 24 to 105 f4 to 7.1. Some of it was negative. Is it a strange release with strange timing? I don't think so. Not at all. At $549 US, $679 here in Canada, it's an excellent option, especially as a kit lens for something like the equally attractive Z5II camera, which I notice is discounted by $250 as I prepare this video. And yeah, that bundle is offered right now at $1,949.95 US with that $250 saving, and I can't think of a better deal. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm thinking this has been a pretty good start to 2026 all told, ignoring some pretty troubling world events. I just keep making nice things. That's my response. Finally, for those of us who still use Final Cut Pro to edit our videos, Apple has made something of a big announcement, which it certainly hasn't done in years. This is why a lot of former Final Cut editors have moved over to DaVinci Resolve. I'm late here to the peanut gallery, So in response to the impending launch of a new subscription version of Final Cut that includes existing free apps like Pages, Numbers and Keynote, as well as Pixelmator Pro, Compressor, Motion, Logic Pro, all for $17.99 a month, $179 a year. Now, this development doesn't replace the standalone application, which is available and will continue to be available for a one-time fee of $299.99 US, and it will continue to be updated according to Apple. But to my understanding, the new subscription, Creator Studio, will give access to premium content. That's likely templates, titles, extended AI options, but without specific information. What I'm assuming will be Final Cut 12 for the standalone version will be released on Wednesday the 28th, along with the rest of that. And it will get functional updates announced for Creator Studio, and the standalone version will get the functional updates announced for Creator Studio, AI-powered visual search, transcript search, movement tracking, one-click color grading, and these two are already there. Maybe we'll see improvements. Beat detection. Now, that'll be a great help if you're trying to cut to the beat. Again, what we'll get with the standalone version remains for the next day or so, depending on how long I take to edit this on Final Cut 11.2, it remains speculation. A final note on enhanced AI. Most of us are using it in some form for stills and video, and I'll have more on that front soon. Gotta compete on an even footing, right? And I'll have some vintage stuff to show off as well, and a few more things besides. Until then, if you found this video worthwhile, please give it a thumbs up, and if this is your first time here, please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss new content. In the meantime, take care, cheers, we'll see you later.